Hello everybody! Today I am finally doing the On My Shelf tag again. You may not know this, but I have done this tag a very long time ago, and I always intended to do it again, and so that's what I'm going to do this morning. I asked you guys for some coordinates a little while ago. I wrote them down and put them in this very large orzo container, and I'm going to randomly pull out 5 of them and show you 5 books from my bookshelves. Alright, the first coordinate is 17-2, and this is John Ta's number, so let me go get that. This book is Little Big by John Crowley because Shelf 17 is my fantasy and SF Masterworks. This is the first Fantasy Masterworks edition that I ever bought, and I read this book back in 2014 or maybe 2013, and I really loved the way it was written. I believe it's about multiple generations of a family that have been entangled with the Fae, with fairies, and I don't remember there being a really definite plot, just that these people's lives are very changed by the influence of the Fae. It was one of the first books I remember reading where I noticed the language above everything else. I still haven't read anything else by John Crowley, but I really love this. Oh, and I think this is also the type of urban fantasy that I really like from the 80s, kind of like Charles DeLint and Emma Bull and Will Shetterly's fantasy. Coordinate 2 is Tara's number. This is Shelf 8, number 17. So, oh yay, the pretty book! This beautiful hardcover is The Privilege of the Sword by Ellen Kushner. It's the second book in the Riverside series. This hardcover edition is the really beautiful one from Small Beer Press. It's beautiful underneath the cover too, like, oh, it's so good. I need to reread this book. I have reread the first book, Swords Point. This one, it's set in the city of Riverside, of course. It's kind of fantasy without magic, and in this one, Catherine, who is the niece of Alec, one of the major characters in the first book, has to go live with him. Family relations being as they are, she's invited to come live with him, but she has to learn to be a swordswoman. Yeah, this was a really good book. Next one, Novelty Corners number. This is Shelf 9, number 17. Okay, so that's this bottom one here. Oops. Oh, do you like my pillow? This is one of Nicole from Darker Brains pillows. So technically 917 is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Le Guin. I've already talked about Le Guin so much, and you guys know that I really love this book, and I've done a review on it and everything. I'm gonna be getting a second copy of this soon because the SF Masterworks edition is finally out and it just shipped to me. Yay! Which means I may have to read it when I get the new edition. But I'll throw in a bonus one here because this shelf is 2 rows actually. The other book 17 in the front row is Betsy, Tacy, and Tib by Maud Hart Lovelace. This is a children's series written in the 40s? Yes, 1941, and it's about 3 girls in the late 1800s or very early 1900s and their adventures together. My mom read the first half or so of this series out loud to me when I was 5, 6, or 7, and then I finished the series on my own, but they're hilarious, and I think I reread the first one, Betsy Tacy, for the rereadathon last year, and it was everything that I remembered and more. The artwork is by Lois Lenski, so it's illustrated inside, and I just love these illustrations. I remember them so vividly from when I was a child. These editions are also very old. They are probably older than I am, and they're getting a little brittle and yellow. The next one is James's number, and this is 1321, so that's Back in the Office. This one is a weird one. This is one of my old school books, and it's one of the 2 books I own in Spanish. It's Marcelino Pan y Vino by Jose Maria Sanchez Silva, and this is one of the last things I read for my Spanish courses in university, like 8 years ago. I've kept it because it's actually the only Spanish book I have that also includes like vocabulary and stuff in the background, so if I ever wanted to get back into my Spanish skills, which are non-existent now, that would be very useful. I just wouldn't want to get rid of it. It is not, however, anything that reflects my reading tastes, and I don't remember anything that it's about, just it's about a little boy named Marcelino, and I think he's like raised by monks or something. I couldn't tell you. It's all in Spanish. The next one is Rachel Moore's number, which is 6-7. This is poetry. This is Howl and Other Poems by Allen Ginsberg. Where did I get this? I think I bought this at a random bookstore in St. Louis when I was there for a couple of days for a conference. A friend and I were walking around one day and we just came across this bookstore and we bought some books. And that was the day I got that really weird Saints book. I don't have it anymore. I remember that more vividly than this one. Anyway, I don't read a lot of poetry, but I grabbed Howl because for some reason I had wanted to read it at that time, and I should probably read this. I don't think I ever read the entire thing. I probably just read Howl in it and not the other poems. But yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say about that. That's kind of another odd one. I'm gonna do one more. What's this? 1717. Okay, this is gonna be another fantasy masterwork, I think. Let's go see. Turns out this is an SF masterworks, not a fantasy masterworks, but it is Nova by Samuel R. Delaney. I really enjoyed this book by him. I don't think I enjoyed it quite as much as Babel 17, but it was probably better than Babel 17, actually. This is about like the crew of a starship that are trying to get a fuel source inside of a star, I think, and the captain of the ship has this strange feud with another man, and it like may destroy them all or something. It was kind of weird. I think it has some of those kind of time-bendy qualities that Delaney's stories have, but it's not a circular story like Empire Star and Dahlgren are, but I really enjoyed it. I lied, I'm gonna do one more. This is 1122, which is Worlds in Ink's number. So this is another one in the back room. Children of the Storm by Elizabeth Peters. This is one of the Amelia Peabody historical mysteries. This one though is kind of a bummer actually, because it's one of the very last books in the series, and I don't remember liking it that much, to be honest. I think it is mostly about Amelia Peabody's son Ramses and his wife and their children. Amelia Peabody is one of my favorite characters in literature, honestly, and I absolutely love Ramses. He's one of the few characters I've ever had a crush on, let's say. But this was just kind of like dragging on a little bit too much, and the next generation, the children, were not nearly as genuinely interesting as like when Ramses was a child. I've always intended to reread the first couple of Amelia Peabody mysteries, but I have heard some people who have tried to read like the first book, Crocodile on the Sandbank, recently have really not liked it because it is old, it's like 70s mystery, and it's probably pretty racist. So there are some random books plus extras pulled from my shelves. It's a rather odd mix now that I think about it. You managed to find a couple of the books in my library that are rather unusual for me. Anyway, I hope this was entertaining enough for you guys. I'm really glad I did this again, and I will try to do another one not in like 2 years, you know? So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for giving me coordinates, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye.